double the items, double the tracks, double the Mario Brothers and princesses and toads and monkeys, double the dashing, double the fun. If math isn't your strong suit, like myself, then I'm obviously referring to Mario Kart Double Dash. Hi, my name is Dallas from NoggTV, and I want to ask the question on every gamer's mind. If the Double Dash feature was so much fun, why hasn't it made a return in any Mario game since? Is it really all that, or has nostalgia seduced us in the backseat of its Yoshi cart and led us to believe that it needs to come back? Either way, you're gonna want to Double Dash to subscribe so you don't miss out and join this awesome community. Now, let's shift into gear and get started. Unlike the last Mario game I covered, Super Mario Sunshine, which, by the way, you can click up here to watch, people actually like Double Dash. In fact, all my homies love Double Dash. I have a lot of memories with this game, from spending countless hours on it as a kid with my cousin, to sneaking my Gamecube and my backpack at church camp and having tournaments with many of our church friends. Heck, we even played Double Dash at my bachelor party. It's probably the Mario Kart I've spent the most time on, but Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe are probably close. So I'd like to think I have lots of experience with the characters, tracks, and gameplay, so I kinda know what I'm saying. When Mario Kart Double Dash released in November of 2003, nobody had seen anything like it. Only two Mario Kart games had existed, being Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart 64, both of which are two of the weaker games in the series, IMO. However, Double Dash had something going for it that the previous two games just didn't. Being able to not just pick one playable character, but two. And I'm not talking about having a second character just sit there for looks like in those go-karts I always rode on as a little kid with my dad, where I thought my second wheel and my pedals were really helping us get somewhere. In the game, the first character you select acts just as any other character would in any other Mario Kart game. They drive. Shocker, I know. The second character, however, sits in the back of the cart and is responsible for throwing items, helping drift. You can also shift the cart side to side, and last but not least, you can swap positions with the first character and take over driving duties, while that character assumes the duties I just listed. So I'll start off with the positives, which in my eyes are stronger and probably more abundant than the negatives. First off, just being able to pick two characters is cool and a lot of fun. Now I don't have to try to decide between Toad and Luigi. I can play as both. With apologies to Yoshi for being left out. I'll explain why shortly. You see, playing as two characters is a lot of fun. You can match up in pairs like the Mario Bros, Princesses, Koopas, Kongs, Toads, and several others. You know, like you guys. No shade here, it's actually really cool that King Boo and Petey Piranha were both included as new and unlockable characters. It gave players something to work for as opposed to just new parts. And the fact that they both debuted on the Gamecube in Super Mario Sunshine and Luigi's Mansion is really cool. Even though Google's AI will tell you King Boo technically first appeared in Super Mario Bros. 3 as Boo Diddley. Now, characters aren't just for aesthetics. The main difference between each character is their weight and their special items. Both of those were brand new concepts to the Mario Kart series. However, character-specific items actually haven't returned to any game since. All the pairs of characters share the same items, with some having cosmetic differences, outside of Koopa Troopa having a triple green shell and Paratroopa having a triple red shell. I guess those are technically different items. Mario and Luigi have red and green fireballs respectively. Princesses have these hearts that float around the cart and will steal any item that makes contact with their cart. Yoshi and Birdo have green and pink colored eggs that act as red shells, but drop items after they explode. The babies have chain chomps that pull them along and attack other racers. Toad and Toadette get the gold mushrooms, which, by the way, Toadette's first appearance ever was in this game, so that's also wild. The Kongs get giant bananas. Bowser and Bowser Jr. get massive Koopa shells that behave like green shells, are just 10 times scarier though. Wario and Waluigi get bombs, and King Boo and Petey Piranha can get any of those specials at random. So depending on how you look at it, they could have the weakest special or the strongest, or somewhere in between. Now, I'm sure that people have put together their own tier list of like which characters you should pick just purely based off of weight and specials, but I don't play that competitively after all. It's just a game. Like I said earlier, Toad is my number one guy, so I always pick him because his gold mushrooms are awesome. Then I pick Luigi because he's cool, and because of the whole weight thing I mentioned earlier. Toad is a small character, but small carts are just too slidey for me. I like the balanced feel of a medium cart like the Yoshi cart, Luigi's Green Thunder cart, or the one that gets all the ladies, the Waluigi cart. It should be noted that your team's weight is based upon your biggest character. So no, you can't team up Bowser or Donkey Kong with one of the babies and have them ride in the crib. Unless you use codes. The character select screen makes choosing characters pretty easy for the most part. They're divided up into pairs so you know who goes with who, only the top row of characters are kind of seen as the main characters and the bottom row could be considered the counterparts, if you will. They all make sense except for Petey and King Boo. It's a weird pairing to begin with, like I get that they're both enemies, but King Boo really gets the shaft here for a number of reasons. Like, why is he a heavy character? He's a ghost. He should weigh nothing except for his crown. Plus, his design here is so basic. Like, why not the cool, caved-in, glowing eyes from Luigi's Mansion? Instead, he's a normal Boo with a crown. Also, his cart sucks. Like, not actual stats, I don't know anything about it, I hardly ever use it. I'm just saying from how it looks. Like, at least Petey Piranha's green cart sorta makes sense being a Pirata plant and all. King Boo's is literally just a boring gray reskin. Like, when do Boos use pipes, bro? Outside of his cart, they're all pretty uniquely designed. Toad and Toadettes are kinda just basic carts, and while they aren't awful, something based around a toadstool would have been kinda cool. The team-up feature is at its peak when playing with another friend or friends. It always makes for some crazy and exhilarating gameplay, even for Mario Kart standards. If you're playing with a Mario Kart veteran, they can help ensure you get the dub every time. If you're playing with someone younger, or someone that isn't very good, or just never plays a whole lot, it's a great opportunity to bring them in and allow for them to get some experience playing Mario Kart, but not being embarrassed having to be near the back every time. And when I used to do this with my wife or younger siblings, I'd try to build up a big lead at the beginning, and then maybe on the last lap swap and let them build some confidence as they get to have some fun experiencing what it's like to be the first cart across that finish line. However, everything I just said about playing with someone obviously goes out the window when you're playing with yourself. Gosh, no, not like that. I mean, playing by yourself, playing alone, single player, jeez. See, playing single player in Double Dash is still a lot of fun, but where the fun begins to kind of level out is playing as the characters. Sure, they still have weight and special items, but once you're in the race, it doesn't really matter who drives and who throws items. I don't even ever pay attention to who's doing what because you control both players, so your duties and your button inputs never change or vary. The only reason I can think of to swap mid-race on your own is to pick up an extra item. Now, I think with the single player, they could have maybe made this part of the experience a little bit better. Had they made some changes to how the characters react or behave in game, like getting tired or maybe driving slower. That way you're forced to be strategic about who drives at what points in the laps and in the races. This is something that, while not necessary for co-op, would create a little extra wrinkle, but be much needed in giving the single player more strategy. In fact, sometimes depending on who you're playing with or how good you are, it really incentivizes just going it on your own and, don't worry about communication errors or trying to time drifts together. I played with several people that they don't end up swapping, they just kind of let the better player drive and the person in the back doesn't do anything. I don't really see how that's a lot of fun. I'm sure there are other ideas too, but that's the main one that came to mind while I was playing for this video. Now all this brings us back to the question, will we ever see the Double Dash feature back in a Mario Kart game? I would like to say yes, probably. I think eventually they'll throw it back in, but I would imagine as a different game mode or separate feature. They won't just throw it in, just for giggles if it's not fleshed out. They can't throw it in just to please people and it not actually be good. But you don't want to make it to where it's so much better or potentially broken, where it renders driving with one kart member pointless or no fun. Who would drive like that? Everyone would just be picking Double Dash all the time. It'd be a waste. Maybe make separate unlocks or even separate missions or campaigns for each. Just imagine the battle minigames with 2 players. And remember what I said earlier about the character combinations? What if Mario and Link team up? Imagine Isabelle teaming up with Bowser or Donkey Kong. You could do Mario and Metal Mario. Peach and Pink Gold Peach. Heck, why stop there? The possibilities are endless. The only flaw in the system I could see coming up is special items. They wouldn't really necessarily have to bring those back to make it all work, but that would be a lot of items to add, so I can see why they wouldn't want to do that. I'd be fine without them personally, but maybe even making several characters or groups of characters have similar items, sort of like how they did it in Double Dash with pairing it up and having them have the same item. That could work. I feel like that was a lot to unpack, yet we didn't even touch on the specific items or the tracks. So I can definitely see myself following up one day with a part 2. This game deserves it for sure. If you watch this far, then race over to like and subscribe buttons because your support means even double this video. Hopefully we see the Double Dash feature make a comeback, potentially in a new Mario Kart 9 for the new Switch they're releasing next year. In the meantime, why don't you drift over to either my latest review about Mario Sunshine and why it gets so much hate, or to my review about my favorite Mario Party game, Mario Party 5, and how it ruins friendships. It seemed to do quite well, so let's continue that momentum. Anyways, thanks guys.